A caregiving crisis is looming. A convergence of factors, including baby boomer longevity, childless couples, fewer children and families, divorce, and basic economics, has created a crisis in the number of caregivers versus the number of those needing care. Wise and Healthy Aging, a Santa Monica nonprofit providing services to seniors, is doing their part to mitigate this challenge right now. Grace Chen Braun, President and CEO of Wise and Healthy Aging, will tell us how. Welcome back, Grace.
Thank you, Rochelle. It's nice to be back.
It is nice to have you.
And thank you for the opportunity to talk about the whole issue and topic of caregiving, which is just becoming more and more the case now, especially with those that are in the sandwich generation of caregiving for their children and now their parents or elderly relatives and such. And we're very excited. We just launched a Wise Caregiver Training Academy at Wise and Healthy Aging through a special grant through the Center for Medicare and Medi-Cal Innovation. Is a federal national grant that we are part of.
Well, I know that you are part of a very select few. Why don't you tell us about this grant?
Yes, so the lead agency is actually the University of Arkansas through their University Medical Sciences Division, and we are the California piece of it. The University of Hawaii has the Hawaii piece, and the Texas Area Agency on Aging, as they affectionately call the AAA, has the Texas piece of it. And what that entails is that the government realized that there are not enough caregivers coming out, quality caregivers, into the workforce. So how might we look to bring more quality caregivers forth, whether they are lay family caregivers or career professional caregivers? So we actually proposed something that was out of the box, and that was, how about a micro-lending tuition loan pool of funds that we each can use to help put forward, to help someone who may be interested in becoming a caregiver professionally, to bring them into the first rung of what that would be considered licensed or certified nursing assistant training. So we are very pleased to have actually a California state approved part-time and full-time caregiver training curriculum to prepare somebody that once they complete the training, the clinical and the theory piece of it, they actually are qualified to sit for the California CNA, as they call it, Certified Nursing Assistant exam.
That's a big deal.
Yes,
I mean, we know how hard it is to get that done.
Yeah.
How did you manage to get that done?
Well, so we looked at what can we do to help workforce diversity? What can we also help as far as people who are in this economy, those who are just waiting to get started, that have lost their jobs or wanted just to get going. And so our board of directors decided to use this micro-lending pool of funds as the loan piece to pay for the tuition. We're going to offer it at no interest to someone. The courses run anywhere between 10 to 12, 14 weeks, depending if you take the full or the part-time curriculum. It's about a total of about 190 hours for that piece. And so this is our way of sort of, when you talk about that pay it forward, is to give someone an opportunity to help them with a leg up to get going. And that once they get going, and a lot of institutions such as nursing homes, the long-term care facilities, hospitals, home health agencies, home care agencies, they want CNAs. And this is a way to put that quality out there. Because what we're learning is that, for example, one of the home care agencies that we work with, for every 5 people that come in to apply to be a caregiver, and they're a little more pickier than some of the other storefront mom and pop shops, they're turning away 4. So 4 out of 5 are not skills qualified. And so this is an opportunity for us to elevate that quality. But our interest actually is more in lay family caregiving, because our nonprofit mission is to really help to enhance that dignity and quality of life for older adults. So yes, we like to produce more CNAs that go into the healthcare field that then later may become nurses or doctors or whatnot. But at the same time, it presents a business model for us to be able to use, then to be able to have those who are family members like myself, who has my 90-year-old father living with my husband and me here in Santa Monica, be able to be better equipped to be a caregiver, so that improves the quality of life for both the caregiver, the family, and the loved one.
And you're doing specialized training as well.
Yes, this specialized training actually is nationally known and comes out of the University of Arkansas. It's called the Schmieding Method. I know it kind of rolls off the tongue a little interestingly. And Lawrence Schmieding was a potato broker, businessman, very successful in Arkansas. And he and his brother built quite a wonderful business, very successful business, very wealthy and such. And when it came down to caregiver needs, they were very unhappy, even with all their money, with the quality of caregiving that was available. And so he decided to put some money into this. And so he went with his attorney. He went to and talked with his geriatrician at the University of Arkansas Medical Center and said, here's a chunk of money, and we're talking quite a number of millions, would like you to create a best practice curriculum for caregiver training. And by the way, I would like it to be a self-sustaining model over time.
Good.
And I like to see it across the country. So they took it on and they formed the Schmieding Center for Senior and Health Education, and that was where it was born. And about 7 years ago, when we were taking a look at who out there across the country is doing caregiver training really well, we found it in Arkansas. And so we went out there and met with the folks, and we're really impressed with the caliber of the curriculum and such. And part of this Medicare Challenge grant that we are under actually also provides funding to create, in which we have helped in the training of being trained to be able to deliver it now, a specialty course on Alzheimer's and dementia care. Because that, as you know from many of your talks that you've done and experts that you've spoken with, that is an increasing condition that we are facing
And
with our
very
elderly.
demanding.
Yes.
You know, to
Yes,
take care
very,
of someone.
very consuming.
Yeah. So you mentioned the lay
Caregiving.
the lay caregiving for families.
Yes.
Is the coursework different for professionals?
Well,
as
the
it is-
beauty of it
Tell me.
is this coursework falls over sort of, I would say, 3 modules. And if you complete all 3 modules, then you actually will have participated in all of the training, the clinical hours, and we actually have relationships with 2 long-term care facilities here in town for the 100 hours of skills training that someone is required to actually qualify to sit for the CNA exam. So they're supervised by our RN nurse director that actually will be with the students when they do their skills training. But if you're a family and lay caregiver, such as myself and some of our other caregiver families that come to our Adult Day Service Center, you're not looking for this to be a career. You may already have a job that you're holding down while still taking care of your loved one. We offer the first module of this curriculum is actually geared toward the lay family caregivers, and it's called WISE Elder Pal.
Oh.
It's a 25-hour course that it really gives very hands-on and also the emotional support and coping skills that are needed for a family member to be able to help their loved one.
Okay, so it's kind of like what you'll encounter during your caregiving responsibilities, you know, whether it's your mom, dad,
What to
grandfather.
look for,
Right.
what do you do when certain instances occur and such. And we're actually finding that, you know, when you talk about the crisis in your introduction, is that while there may be a lot of advertising of home care agencies out there and such, it's a little bit of a luck of the draw, if you will, for who you get. And many of these agencies actually, besides training the people, who are sort of hired guns, if you will, to fill out the paperwork for their company and such, may have very minimal actual skills training that they take them through. And we are actually working with them and talking to them about offering to work in collaboration to take this first piece, the WISE Elder Pal piece, to have some portion or all of it be part of that curriculum. And there's also conversation at the state level, because right now there is no regulation. So anyone who wants to be a caregiver can sort of say, I'm a caregiver, you know, go ahead and hire me. So there's no standard for anyone that's working as a caregiver. And so like Arkansas, which has put through legislation for there to be a standard, we are actually also working to create that and to create more of a standard in so what would qualify someone to be qualified
Right.
to actually be paid
Well,
as
you're
a
making it
caregiver.
more professional. You're also
Yes.
giving them an opportunity to get a job that they can grow with.
Yes.
And then, you know, back to the lay stuff. So what are you, give me an example of what you're teaching a lay caregiver. I mean, there's some basic stuff that we don't know. I mean, how to get somebody out of a bed. I mean,
Definitely. You know, what do you do when they fall?
Right.
Yeah, the basic things of toileting and what I call some of the tricks of the trade, if you will. I know, for example, when I was at the University of Arkansas observing one of the trainings, I was very impressed with one of the RN nurses that was taking a class through on like, so how do you get someone to drink more fluids? Because the elderly, they don't want to take in too much fluid because then they have to then go to the bathroom and they're, you know, it's just this whole thing. And so there was this whole technique that she taught them of how they need physical activity. So you say, let's go for a walk, right? And we're walking around the house and such, getting a little exercise and movement in, get the blood, you know, going and whatnot. And oh, we're by the bathroom. Well, let's, you know, I know you don't have to go, but, you know, let's just, you know, since we're here, then we don't have to come back and such, you know, doing that.
Incorporating it.
Incorporating it into some sort of activity, but not having it be the focus of the activity.
Exactly.
And then there was one other, and the whole notion of, you know, going back to the drinking of more fluids or such, is actually drinking it with them. And so drinking it as they're drinking and say, gosh, you know, oh, take a sip. What do you think of, you know?
It's a social thing.
Exactly.
As opposed to you got to
and
drink.
also demonstrating the need and actually doing it so that they also know that you see value in it.
And it's something you're doing together. It's also
Exactly.
important. And
Yeah.
then just real quickly, if somebody wanted to take advantage of the micro lending aspect, how would they go about doing that?
It's very simple.
Okay.
You know, the beauty of the micro lending loans is there are no credit checks. All right. The whole notion is that it's a small enough amount of money, and so, for example, the CNA course in its entirety, which also includes the ability to get an HHA designation, which is a specialty called home health aid. All right, that is $2,100. All right, and it's fairly comparable. I would say maybe even a little less than what some of the private schools are charging out there. And so you would apply by filling out an application. We do take this very seriously, and we do run background checks because in order for somebody to actually eventually become a CNA, they will need to have had a background check that there's been no issues of abuse or fraud or such in their background. Anyone who is 18 and older that has a certain level of competency with English, you do not need to be a high school graduate.
Okay.
You just need to be able to understand, you need to be able to write, read,
Okay.
and such.
Well, we'll talk a little bit more about that in a minute. A recent AARP report projects that by 2030, there will be close to 57% fewer potential caregivers available for each person 80 and over. Nearly 80% of those caregivers are unpaid family members and or friends of the care recipient. Proper caregiver training is essential to coping with the rigors of both a difficult and emotional job. We are talking about how a Santa Monica nonprofit is helping us prepare. Stick around to learn more.
Discover 30 years of opera in Santa Monica. Discover the Verdi Chorus.
Wise and Healthy Aging is known for thinking outside of the box and tackling relevant and timely issues for older adults in Santa Monica and LA County. In addition to caregiver training, they offer caregiver support groups and adult daycare. Joining us now is Frankie Aggers, the director of the adult daycare program at Wise and Healthy Aging. Welcome, Frankie.
Thank you.
It's nice to have you.
Thank you.
So why don't you briefly just tell us about your overall role at Wise and Healthy Aging, and then we'll talk a little bit more about caregiver stuff.
Okay, thank you. Currently, I am the Director of Adult Day Services, which includes the Adult Day Center that we'll be talking about, and Transportation, and Club 1527, which is our senior recreation center that we call Club 1527 because we did a survey and seniors preferred that name over a senior center.
Yes, I remember when you did that
Yeah.
survey. That was very effective, actually.
It was very effective.
I mean, now it's like a more social thing. as
Oh,
opposed-
absolutely.
There are 600 plus members, and we just celebrated a 1-year anniversary at the beginning of April.
Congratulations. Yeah, you know, that's why this is called Let's Talk.
There you
know?
go.
So let's talk
Okay.
about, you know, I know that you lead some of the caregiver support groups,
Mm-hmm.
and I know that you're a caregiver, Grace, so you can chime in. But what are you seeing now in your groups? What's trending in caregiving? What are some of the main challenges, and how do the support groups help
Okay,
families?
I think some of the main challenges and some of the helpful parts of the support group are it's people that are doing the same thing. Caregiving can be a little bit lonely because I might be with my parent or with my spouse, and you might think everything's just fine. Well, it's not just fine because they're caring for someone for 24/7. And so kind of it's helpful to learn the tricks of the trade from one another, and then also to facilitate that. We're able to do education on using a care product that maybe a family member doesn't know how to do. And so we're able to show them. We'll do actually hands-on type things. And then the emotional support that someone needs.
And talking about your role as a caregiver, I know it's important, and you know, to share with others. So what do you have to say about that, Grace?
It's really nice to know that there are others that really get what it is that you're going through. And I think the sense of just that there are some other individuals there. You know, we have support groups that have been going on for years, and we have even individuals who will continue for a certain amount of period even after their loved one has passed, because they have developed such close bonds with the other members
And
of the
there's-
support
Yeah,
groups.
and there's like a grieving process.
Yes.
I mean, not only grieving the loved one, but their role as a caregiver.
Exactly.
Because
And
now
Knowing what
are
they're
they
going
gonna do?
through.
And the whole process of it too. When they come to us, they are usually in a state of grief because the person they're caring for is not the same person, not the same mom, the dad, or the spouse. So by being able to help them through that part of the grief process and letting them know that, and then also that there's no judgment. There is absolutely no judgment to caregiving because it's such a personal thing.
And emotional.
Yes, absolutely, absolutely.
So what, I know that you also have you run the adult daycare, and so how does that help the caregivers? Is there respite care that can
Yes.
come into play? Tell us how that
Okay.
helps caregivers.
The purpose of the Adult Day Center, one of them, is definitely to provide respite for the caregiver. When we have a loved one coming to the Adult Day Center, and mostly we deal with memory loss, whether it's early stage, whether it's late stage Alzheimer's, we're able to care for someone. It gives respite to the person that's caring for them. Usual day is 5 hours, although we are open from 7:30 in the morning till 6:30 in the evening, because many of our clients live with adult children that work. So then they have those hours. Their mission is the same as ours, is to keep them in their home as long as they can. And so the flexibility that we're able to give to a family member that's a caregiver once their loved one with us is what is really important. We know how to care for the person.
Right.
Varied activities, parties, music therapy, art therapy, fun. We make sure we have a lot of fun, but it's the person that is the caregiver that needs the respite.
Right, and so you provide a safe environment.
Exactly, and that's what we try to promote with our families: safety first,
Right.
safe
And
environment.
Do they, or some of those, did you want to add something, Grace?
Well, I was just going to say that my 90-year-old father, who lives with my husband and me here in Santa Monica, it is such a blessing to have the capability of of being able to access the Adult Day Service Center. And if you are a resident in Santa Monica, there's the added benefit through the City of Santa Monica Community Grants Program and some new federal funding for door-through-door service to help. And so I'm able to go to work, and then they come, and there's an attendant and an escort that picks up the loved one, brings them in for their activities, and there's really the level of enrichment activities. I know that on the days that my father goes to the adult daycare program, he sleeps better at night. He actually now wakes up and he'll ask what day it is on the weekend, kind of waiting for Monday to come so that he can go to the adult daycare program. He's built some friends. There are a number of people that are veterans because we have a VA contract that offers the benefits for that. And they do music appreciation, there's art therapy, there's even, I understand my dad is quite a domino whiz with the other players.
We gamble on the side, but don't tell them.
Yes, and lunch is included, and then also there's the added services of showering capabilities, which I take advantage of, which just makes it so much easier for us at home, and also preserves a certain dignity, for my father.
So you guys have really built up 1527.
Which is the address of where we're at 4th Street.
Exactly.
And so the Club 1527 is for the younger, older adults that are active, still coming and such. On the 2nd floor is the WISE Adult Day Service Center, which is the adult daycare program in itself, where then family members are bringing their loved ones in that stay with us for the day. What's really great is that we were talking about caregiving, is that at this point for some of our clients, their families have engaged caregivers that work with them and are there to support them. And what we've found that it actually provides some added stimulation and socialization for the paid caregiver and the client. So for somebody that is 24/7 living with a family, we have had family members arrange so that 2 or 3 times a week the client comes in, their loved one comes in with the caregiver participates with the others, and that eliminates that social isolation that sometimes can occur for some of these working caregivers and such.
Yeah, I was going to ask, and then so for the caregivers, are they also attending the support groups that you're offering?
We do have a few caregivers, the actual caregivers of the participants.
Right.
It's open, our caregiver support groups. We have many of our family members, and then also people from the community, all of West LA, really.
They go about 4 times a month, differing hours to support those who are working and those who their schedules and such. And Frankie facilitates a certain number of them, and we have other staff that also.
And so how does, if one wanted to come to one of your groups, what do they do? Just show up?
They show up. We're open-ended.
Call us.
Call
Call
us.
us.
Yeah, because we want to encourage a caregiver to come at the time that's most convenient for them. It's open-ended. They might come 2 times this month, but they're busy next month, and then come again. So we want to be there for them when they need us.
And so just describe a support group meeting. I mean, somebody guides it?
Yes,
Okay.
someone facilitates the group, and by facilitating, we keep the mood going. We keep what's going on. But a lot of times the support groups, especially if they've been together for a while, they run it themselves because it's a little time of sharing. Where are you? What's going on? And then it leads to one other person talking, oh, how's your mom now? So it's
organic.
It is. It very much can be if the group's been together quite a while. Yeah.
And so you see what the families, what they're going through together,
Yes.
and tell me, why is it important for them to talk about it? I mean, we hear that, we know that women have strong social networks. We live longer because we talk a lot to our friends. It must be a really important aspect.
I think that part of the sharing and the talking is the relief that a support group gets in a very safe setting. Because sometimes the emotions and the feelings can come out, and if just anyone heard them, they might go, whoa, what's kind of going on? But they get it. They get what each other are saying, and they need to be able to say that. And that's why when we say there's boundaries, but there's no judgment, because someone needs to be able to say how they're feeling and not
Be judged
on
for it.
that.
To be able to vent and have release,
Right.
and to show anger, or just great sadness or such,
Fear,
but they're
guilt.
not,
Guilt,
right?
yeah.
But there not be judgment about that, and just the release of that in itself is very healing and cathartic.
And so you encourage that. I mean, what do you say to people when they get there? Do you have like rules or terms of like, I mean, you know how when you come into a group, they have, here's how we treat each other.
We do.
How do you, because
we
some
do
people
kind
need
of
to-
a little welcome,
Okay.
and this is what we're about, and hopefully you'll join in. And then we just sort of start sharing, and those that have been with us before, they're the ones that really take over. The facilitator just is there to do exactly that, facilitate. Sometimes a lot about education. They need more education of what do we do next? What's next? And if it is, we can plug in different educational pieces to the support group. Now that we have the Caregiver Academy, we can
Some of them are actually taking advantage of the Alzheimer's and dementia specialty course, as an example.
Right, you get
because it's
candidates
very,
for the-
very
Yeah,
relevant
yeah.
to them, and some are actually paying for their caregiver to go through the Wise Elder Pal piece, because some of these caregivers are through what I would call the nanny connection, of
Exactly.
the ones that have been doing it for a number of years. They're in the neighborhood. Mrs. So-and-so now has passed, and her caregiver is available.
Right.
And so how might we further their skills?
So you're really creating a community.
Very
is
much
what you're
so.
doing. And so is it growing, or what are you seeing?
You know, it's funny. It kind of depends where people are, but we have had groups up to 17 people where I've actually had to bring a timer in, because that's not usually the size of a support
Right.
group. But we've put it up for a vote. They had bonded such that they did not want to leave, so they spoke less time. They would go out to lunch afterward. This happened to be a day group. And then as people would die, or placement or whatever, then the group might become smaller. So there is a changeover when something happens within the family. Average, I would say, about 8 people
Consistently.
consistently.
Well, I know you're doing great work, and I know you did a great job on your website, and I just wanted to, I love the comment, the quote from Rosalind Carter. Can you quote it for me, Grace?
Oh, she's putting me on the spot about, well, I can't say it exactly
Okay.
to the nose, all right,
But
but it
let's
is
end with
something
that
about
quote.
that all of us in our lifetime will have been a caregiver or being caregived to, and so therefore that whole cycle of life and the quality of that.
Yeah, we're all going to be a part of it. So thank you both for doing such a wonderful job
Thank you
helping
for
our
having us.
community.
Yeah, thank you.
And it's a pleasure having you on the show.
Thank you.
Our program is brought to you by the Commission for the Senior Community, focusing on preserving and improving the quality of life for Santa Monicans 60 and older. For more info, visit our website on the screen now. Thank you so much for watching Let's Talk. Till next time, be well, live well, age well.